Halle Bailey has reached a breaking point with DDG. No longer able to silently endure the alleged abuse, she has taken a bold and deeply emotional step, filing a police report and seeking a court-ordered restraining order against the father of her child. This harrowing decision comes after what she describes as a series of disturbing and traumatic incidents that have left her emotionally battered and fearful for her safety and that of her infant son, Halle. According to legal documents, filed in Los Angeles on a Tuesday, the situation between Halle and DDG had been spiraling for months. Though their romantic relationship ended in October, the storm didn't pass. It only worsened. Halle alleges that in January, a routine custody exchange turned violent. DDG had come to pick up their son Halle when Halle attempted to initiate a calm, civil conversation about arranging a consistent visitation schedule. But what should have been a straightforward and mature discussion quickly disintegrated into chaos. Halle says that as she was carefully strapping Halle into his car seat, DDG's demeanor shifted. He allegedly became enraged, repeatedly yelling at her to "Get out of my car, bitch." With Halle crying in the back seat and the tension intensifying, Halle felt a surge of fear, not just for herself, but for her child. She couldn't bear the thought of her son being driven away in a car filled with hostility. It was then that the encounter took a terrifying turn. The situation escalated physically, she claims, with DDG yanking her hair and brutally slamming her face against his car's steering wheel. The impact was so forceful that Halle says it chipped her tooth. In her court filing, she describes being left in tears, reeling from both the pain and the fear. The struggle ended not because DDG calmed down, but because Halle, desperate and frightened, allowed the car ride to proceed just to ensure her child's safety. Still shaken, she accompanied DDG back to his home, where she confided in his family about what had just transpired. She says they offered to take care of Halle, recognizing the seriousness of the situation. With a bruised arm, a chipped tooth, and an aching heart, Halle left the house in a state she described as hysterical. The emotional scars, she implies, ran even deeper than the physical ones. She attached photos of her injuries to her restraining order request, hoping that the visuals of her pain would speak louder than words, but the nightmare didn't end there. Halle recounts another deeply unsettling incident in March. She claims DDG showed up at her home without warning, entered, uninvited, and made his way to her bedroom. He then texted her a photo of her empty bed, accompanied by a message that read, "Now, I know what you've been on, LOL." This chilling intrusion wasn't just a violation of privacy. To Halle, it was a loaded accusation, DDG seemingly accusing her of infidelity without any basis, fueling the paranoia and tension that had already been simmering between them. Things allegedly escalated again just 4 days later. According to Halle, DDG returned to her home and became enraged when she told him she and Halle were both sick and she didn't want their child leaving the house. Halle says he responded with a torrent of verbal abuse, destroyed her Ring security camera in a fit of rage, and snatched her phone from her hands. As he fled the scene in his car, she claims he hurled the phone out the window, shouting, "Go get it, bitch," before driving off. This wasn't just a heated argument. It was, according to Halle, a display of reckless aggression that deeply traumatized her. She took immediate action, filing a police report and securing footage from the Ring camera that she says backs up her claims. At this point, her fear had crystallized into something even stronger: resolve. She could no longer allow herself to be placed in situations where she felt unsafe, unprotected, and disrespected, not with a child depending on her. DDG, for his part, had publicly claimed on social media that he had been fighting to see his son for months. But to Halle, the truth was far more complex. She believed that his erratic and hostile behavior was a threat not only to her, but to the well-being of their son. The final heartbreaking straw came on what should have been a peaceful and joyful Mother's Day. Halle was on a short vacation in St. Lucia with her sister and Halle, hoping to carve out a few moments of happiness amid the chaos. But even there, DDG's shadow loomed. Halle says he sent her social media posts implying she was on the island with singer Brent Faiyaz. The insinuation was clear. He believed she was with another man. And once again, she found herself at the receiving end of his accusations. Halle responded with calm and restraint. Her reply was a plea, not just for peace, but for dignity. She texted, "Not with any man out here. I wouldn't do that. I have Halo. Please let me enjoy my Mother's Day in peace. I hope you are okay and feel better soon." These words, gentle, composed, and heartbreakingly sincere, seem to reflect a woman who has been through far more than the public has seen. A woman who has tried to maintain civility, to protect her son, to preserve some semblance of normalcy despite living in what she describes as an unpredictable and sometimes dangerous environment. Halle's story is not just a celebrity headline. It's a sobering account of a young mother pushed to her limits. It's a reminder that fame and fortune do not shield anyone from the realities of intimate partner abuse. If anything, they can complicate things further. The fear of public judgment, the constant media scrutiny, and the emotional toll of trying to co-parent with someone who you believe to be volatile. These are burdens Halle says she has carried for far too long. Now she is choosing to take a stand, not only for herself, but for Halo. Seeking a restraining order isn't just a legal move. It's a declaration of her intent to protect her peace and create a safe space for her son. The court's response and the legal system's next steps will determine the immediate future of this high-profile but deeply personal case. No matter what happens next, one thing is clear. Halle Bailey is done suffering in silence. She is reclaiming her voice, her safety, and her story. What unfolded between Halle Bailey and DDG isn't just a cautionary tale about toxic relationships. It is a raw, real, and deeply unsettling look into what it means to live in fear, even while under the spotlight of fame. It's a situation that resonates with far too many, especially women who find themselves trapped in emotionally or physically abusive relationships. Halle's courage in stepping forward and speaking out is emblematic of a shift in the cultural tide, where women are no longer willing to suffer quietly or let fame and image silence their pain. The world has watched Halle Bailey evolve from a young singer to a beloved actress and new mother, and in that time, her story has inspired many. But behind the glow of red carpets and glittering premieres, she has been navigating a personal storm that few could comprehend. Her decision to come forward wasn't about scandal or spectacle. It was about safety, sanity, and setting a boundary that should have been respected from the very beginning. For many victims of abuse, the hardest part is the first step, acknowledging that what they're experiencing is not just wrong, but dangerous. Halle's story doesn't just highlight her strength. It underscores the complicated reality many face when their abuser is someone they once trusted and loved, especially when children are involved. The co-parenting dynamic can become a battlefield where safety is constantly at risk, and where the lines between concern, control, and violence blur in terrifying ways. The incidents she describes, from physical assault to emotional intimidation and property destruction, paint a disturbing picture of a person who allegedly refused to respect her space, her voice, and her rights. The image of her chipped tooth, the bruises on her arm, the smashed Ring camera, the photo of an empty bed sent in a message laced with accusation and contempt. These are not isolated moments. They are fragments of a larger, more harrowing narrative of abuse and emotional warfare. By seeking a restraining order, Halle is demanding a safe perimeter, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. She is drawing a line in the sand for herself and her son. She is refusing to let fear dictate her movements or the future she envisions for her child. It's a powerful act of resistance against a pattern of behavior that too often goes unchecked. In relationships where one partner holds undue power, intimidation, or emotional manipulation over the other,